pause. I stopped you to say good afternoon. Good afternoon, high school girls, ladies. All right. This is all about you. All about you. We are so excited to have you here today. A special treat for the Roosevelt Union Free School District. We were able to have a very special guest to come to us all the way from Singapore. All the way from Singapore.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask
Can't move it.
you to stand as Ms. Regan. Ms. Regan. As Ms. Regan and the select choir, as they begin to sing, and when they sing, you're gonna clap and you're gonna stand. When they sing, you're gonna clap and you're gonna stand. And you're going to receive and welcome in a Roosevelt way, Mrs. Universe. Please remain standing for the JROTC color guard. And now we'll have another selection by our director, Mrs. Regan, in the Roosevelt High School Select Choir.
woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she wears a crown? What happens when she rules her own body? What happens when she says to be? What happens when she bows to nobody? What happens when she stands on her own 2 feet? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she wears a crown? Whoa, we rise above, whoa, we live above, whoa. We have won, we are one, we just begun. Whoa, we rise above, whoa, we live above, whoa. We are one, we are one, we just begun. What happens when a woman takes power? She won't back down, she won't back down. When a woman takes power, what happens? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens? What happens? What happens? What happens when she wears the crown?
And how are you today? Today we have a very, 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 very special guest. I know you've probably heard of Miss America. That's someone who is not married. But have you heard of Mrs. America? Mrs. America, someone who is married. Well, not only Mrs. America, but Mrs. Universe. Wow. Today, all the way from Singapore, our special guest is Mrs. Universe, Mrs. Juanita Brown Ingram.
Yes. The question, what made you want to get involved in pageantry to begin with?
I think pageantry with purpose is powerful. And so I, as an attorney, I was invited to speak to young girls often. And then you have to be careful what you pray for. Because I said, well, God, I would love to do this. God can use me. What can I do? And I heard pageantry whispered, and I said, no way. But then I went to the book of Esther, which is the first historical account of pageantry that we have. And I saw that it was there with a purpose. So I said, okay, if I put on a sash and a crown, and the words coming out of my mouth mean more to these young ladies, to encourage them to make smart decisions and to really let them know that intelligence is beautiful, and so be it. And that was my journey. That's how it started.
Yeah, because it is more than just a beauty pageant.
It is, yes, absolutely. Well, interview counts just as much as evening gown, just as much as swimsuit. So intelligence wins the crown. And I think that that's something that's really important for people to know.
Beauty inside and out.
My gosh, your words are amazing.
That's why she won.
You're in front of behind the scenes for the reality series, The Expats International Ingrams, right? So I want to play a clip and then we'll take a look.
Okay.
I'll talk about it.
The unexpected of living abroad. Thanks. Dog license was rejected. Don't know what to do about that. My family was offended that I would be asked to represent our mom. I get tired of people jumping when they see me on the elevator. It's almost like a spooked kind of moment.
So a lot of different emotions and feelings throughout this show, right? So what are you doing to get involved, I guess, in reality TV?
You know, I was an entertainment lawyer,
Yeah.
and I had clients that were in that space, and I just saw a void and a need in the niche for there to be a show that normalized Black people globally.
You shout it out one more time. I'm expecting greatly.
Ladies, please stand one more time for Mrs. Universe. Turning on her microphone, you might want to take some mental notes. She's going to give you lots of nuggets. And one that we just heard from the clip, and she said, intelligence wins the crown. I give you Mrs. Juanita Brown Ingram, Mrs. Universe.
Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you to the entire administration, to the school district, all of your leaders who have been so hospitable and amazing. And thank you for coming today and agreeing to hear from me, and to the color guard and to the beautiful choir that sang today. I think sometimes living abroad, because I do live in Singapore, I don't get to hear the Star Spangled Banner. And so it's been a real honor and a privilege to hear that today, because the things that you take for granted living abroad, I don't get to see the flag all the time, and I don't get to hear that. So thank you so much. We're going to get started here. That way, there you go. And I'll just introduce myself a little bit more. As you can hear from my accent, I am originally from Tennessee. I do live in Singapore currently. I lived in London for 5 years, and then I lived in Taiwan, and now I live in Singapore. I am married. I have 2 beautiful children. My daughter is your age. She's 15. She's in the 9th grade in Singapore, and my son will be 13 next month. And they have lived in 4 countries now, and I think they visited about 28 countries now. So we have traveled all over the world, but I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about what real confidence is, about setting goals, about making good choices in life. Because right now, where you sit, the choices and the decisions that you make have a direct outcome to where you can be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And I know it seems like a long way off, but when I sat in your seat, the decisions that I made had a direct output and input on what it is that I am today. So I want to encourage you to make good decisions and to always think of yourself as a confident person. And when we talk about confidence, what does that mean? So how many of us have heard of the phrase self-esteem? Everybody? How many of us, and you don't have to show your hands, say it in your heart, but how many of us, I'll raise my hand, have struggled with self-esteem from time to time? I know I have. And that is because we struggle with self-esteem because self-esteem is a feeling. Everybody struggles with self-esteem. And I know as a beauty queen, you would think that I would come up here and say, oh, I'm going to help you to have high self-esteem. I don't believe in having self-esteem. I don't like the term. I don't like the phrase. I think it leads to a lot of problems, sometimes anxiety, sometimes feelings of depression. I don't like the term self-esteem because self-esteem is all predicated upon how you feel, how somebody else feels about you, what somebody else says about you, how you may feel about yourself, and feelings change. So you may feel good one day. You may feel like you like your hair. You may feel like you like your outfit. And so your self-esteem is really high. And then one day you may feel that your outfit is not nice. Your hair is not nice. Maybe you didn't get the grade that you wanted. Maybe you failed at something. And so you will feel bad. That's normal. Feelings go up, feelings go down. It's just the same as when you take your pulse. Your pulse goes up, it comes down. You have to have feelings that go up and down. If they flatline, that means things are dead. Things go up and down. The tide goes in and out. Our feelings go up and down. Those are things that change. What I prefer to focus on is self-worth. Self-worth is not the same as self-esteem. And I know you think, well, it's just a play on words. No, language matters. What we say in the language that we use, it matters. And so self-worth is a fact. Self-worth is your identity. It is who you know yourself for a fact to be. It is how you value yourself. Who are you? What do you deserve in life? These are things that do not change. It does not matter how you feel about yourself. It doesn't matter how anyone else feels. It doesn't matter if you accomplish anything. Your self-worth is based on simply the fact that you were born, you are alive, and you're a human being. And that's it. And therefore, you are worthy of certain things. You are unique. You are precious. You have gifts. You are worthy of kindness, respect, decency, honor, and it doesn't matter what you do, how you look, or how you feel. These are basic things that are true and never change. Now, I know you say to yourself, okay, am I really special sometimes? Am I really born to do something unique? Yes, you are. You have a unique set of fingerprints. There's no one on this earth like you. There's no one on this earth like me. I was destined to do what I'm doing today. So I'll tell you a story. All right. I went to law school. As you heard, I'm an attorney. And I went to law school. But before that, I graduated from a historically Black college and university, Tennessee State University. And I always knew that I wanted to be two things growing up. When I was in the 8th grade, I decided I wanted to be a lawyer. And then around the 9th grade, I decided I really like working with numbers. I want to be an accountant. How I was going to do both, I don't know. But at the time, I decided, okay, when I go to college, I'm going to major in accounting. Then I'll go to law school and I'll become a business lawyer. And then I will help other people to start their businesses. That was my plan in life, right? So I went to undergrad and got a degree in accounting. I graduated, fine. Got into law school, and I had a very rough first semester. I did not do extremely well in law school my first semester. And when I say I didn't do extremely well, I made 3 B's, 2 A's, and 3 C's. Now, I know that doesn't sound bad, but in graduate school, once you get past undergrad, if you make C's, you could get kicked out. I don't know why that is, but it's true. If you make too many C's, you could fail out of graduate school. They consider a C failing in graduate school. So I met with my career counselor, and I remember the color of the carpet because I was looking down because I felt really bad. And this man looked me in my eyes and he told me that I should drop out of law school, that I should not go any further, that no judge would ever want to hire me, no law firm would ever want to hire me, I would never work for a Fortune 500 company, that my entire legal career was over because I had made these 3 C's and I had a very low, in his opinion, low GPA for my first semester, and that I should walk across the street to the business school, maybe go to the business school, but never come back to the law school. And I remember the color of the carpet because my head was hung so low, I couldn't even look him in his eye. And this man was shattering every dream that I had of myself and telling me what all I could not do, what all I was not going to be. So anybody else ever have somebody just say something negative about them? Discourage them from doing something, tell you what you can and cannot do? I'm the only one. Okay, I didn't think so. It happens. But that's where self-esteem can fail you, because in that moment, I felt bad. I don't know anybody that could feel good in that moment. How do you feel good about somebody telling you what you're not going to become? I felt bad in that moment. I felt very down. I felt very low. And I questioned what I had been dreaming of becoming since I was in the 8th grade. And I had a choice to make. Was I going to believe that I was unique, that I had special gifts, that I had something to offer? Was I going to believe the identity that I deserve, love, respect, kindness, that I was meant to be this thing that I had been dreaming of being my entire life? Was I going to give up in that moment? Or was I going to continue to press forward? Was I going to believe this person that was telling me what all I could not be and basically saying legally I was worthless? Was I going to do that or was I going to dig deep? I decided in that moment that I was going to hold on to the identity of what I knew myself to be. Because again, my self-esteem was low in that moment. I felt horrible. I questioned whether or not I could do it. And I had to sit there and tell myself, but I know that I want to help people. That is my gift. That is what I was put here to do, was to help other people. I know this is something that I want to do. So I decided to stay in law school. And I did everything that he said I couldn't do. And it was interesting because this person that told me that, so lawyers, when we graduate and we become lawyers, we have to take an exam called the bar exam. 70% of lawyers don't pass the first time. It's a very hard test that we have to take in order for us to become lawyers. And I found out that this particular person had never passed the bar exam. Yet he was telling me that I was never going to pass and what all I wasn't going to do in life. And I went on and graduated. I pulled my GPA up to a 3.4. I graduated not only with my law degree, I did walk across the street to business school. I got my law degree and my business degree and my master's at the same time. And I went on to graduate. I went on to work for Fortune 500 companies. I worked for the largest law firm in Tennessee, one of the most prestigious judges in the state of Tennessee. And I passed the bar exam the first time. Now, had I listened to him in that moment, thank you, in that moment, I had a choice to make. Who are you, Juanita? Are you your GPA in this moment? Are you the C's? Are you the B's? Are you the A's? Are you what this man is saying, a failure, somebody that's not going to make it, somebody that's not worthy? Or what does your self-worth tell you? Because my self-esteem was low. I felt bad. It's okay. Up, down. Tide comes in, tide goes out. I was out. I felt really, really bad in that moment, and I questioned everything that I was. But I've been a lawyer now for 20 years. It makes 21 years. I not only passed the Tennessee bar, I passed the Indiana bar. I could take a test. I learned how to take the test. And I did that digging deep, going into the law school with my friends. Again, this is choices. My friends were out partying. I had to make a decision. Was I going to buckle down and study extra hard because I had to pull my GPA up? I couldn't even make B's. I had to make A's. This was something that I had to make a decision to do. Life is all about choices, but the first choice that you have to make is that you deserve it, that you can do it. And sometimes it doesn't look like you can do it. It doesn't look as though it's promising. Even with this crown that I have. 10 years ago, I went to Mrs. Universe, okay? I was Mrs. UK Universe. I was living in London at the time. I had opportunity to represent the United Kingdom at Mrs. Universe. I went to that pageant competition 10 years ago, and I did not place. I was not in the top 15. I wasn't in the top 5. I was not called. Interestingly enough, that year was when they started the e-vote. So they allowed the public to vote on who they wanted to win. 1.43 million people voted, and I won the e-vote, but I was not crowned. They did not call me. And in that moment, it was 6 judges that year. In that moment, I could have said, okay, I probably will never be Mrs. Universe then. This is it for me. I've come here, I lost. I probably should never do this again. And I could have given up, but I knew that having this crown, I love to do this. I love to come and talk to young people. It's my gift. It's what I was uniquely purposed to do. And I knew that I had been called to do that. But in that moment, standing on that stage, I did not feel special. I did not feel worthy. I felt kind of embarrassed because they kept calling it the top 15. And, I kept jumping like, I just know they're going to call my name any minute now. They did not. They never called my name. And I stood there and I questioned whether or not I should ever do a pageant ever again. And for 10 years, I did not compete. I did other things, though. Because even if something is delayed, it doesn't mean that it's a denial. It just means that it may not be your season, but it may be your season to prepare, to get ready to do what you're actually meant to do. Doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It just depends on how bad do you want it. Are you going to let the things that are obstacles make it so that you never accomplish what you know you're set out to do? And sometimes the narrative that you have to fight against, the voice that you have to fight against, is your own. It starts with you first. So I had to tell myself, I like these things called affirmations. But affirmations alone are not effective. So affirmations are like little sayings that you have, like I put a sticky note on my bathroom mirror. And I have a bunch of sticky notes, sometimes I change them in and out. And there'll be different sayings, different things that encourage me, motivational quotes. You know, you are special, you are unique, you're worthy. Depending on the attack that comes to me, sometimes people say negative things to me and I'll write the opposite. Just because I wake up every morning and I look at it. And you'd be surprised how that takes effect. Like the negative things that people say, you'd be surprised how that takes effect on your mind. And if you don't combat that yourself, because it starts with you first, you teach people how to treat you. If someone says something negative to you and it hurts your feelings, you need to question, what negative thing did you say to yourself? If somebody says something about you and it makes you feel bad, you need to question, well, what things do I say to myself that make me feel bad? Because what somebody else thinks of you or says to you shouldn't trigger you, except that it is latching on to something and it's triggering something that you feel about yourself. There's something that, mind you, you could be offended. You could be offended of certain things, but to truly be hurt, to truly take that in and let it latch on, that's in you. That's not the other person. We know that we live in a world with broken people. You know, people are struggling. We're all doing the best that we can on this journey of life. And sometimes people say things that are hurtful to you. They will discourage you. And sometimes they're not conscious that they're actually not working towards your good. They mean well. They think they mean well. But sometimes what we allow to get down inside of us has everything to do with us because we're not taking the time to feed into our own narrative, to build ourselves up. That's your job. That's no one else's job in this world, to build yourself up with you. You have to do it first. So finding your identity, the thing I like to do is journal. So I wrote this book called Fabulous, Faithful, and Free, and there's a workbook that comes with it. Identity is so important because it dictates everything that you are. So for me, I was already a lawyer before I went to law school. In my mind, that was my identity. I was someone that was going to help other people. I was already Mrs. Universe before they crowned me. Not on the day that I didn't get called, but eventually when I stood on that stage, I already felt like a winner because I had done the work. But what I do on a regular basis, I check in with myself. You have to develop and figure out who you are. So these are some of the questions I ask. Who am I? How do I define myself? What is my purpose? Now that sounds like an easy question. Who am I? If I ask you, who are you? What would you start off by saying?
My name.
My name. Describe yourself. Don't use your name. What would you say?
Who you are.
How would you describe yourself? Who are you? Now names are important. You know, this is what we are named is very important. My grandmother, I'm named after my grandmother. Her middle name is Juanita. She was full Cherokee Nation, registered, Dawes Rose. And Juanita means God's gift. So I'm named after her. Names are important. But who are you beyond your name? Who are you beyond your accomplishments? Who are you beyond what you do? Beyond what other people think of you? Beyond a title? Who are you really? What do you value? I feel most comfortable when? I feel secure when? What do I desire? What rewards motivate you? Get to know yourself. Why does this matter? Because you want your actions and your decisions to line up with who you really are. I talk to my daughter all the time. You know, she goes through these situations and phases where sometimes her friends are nice, sometimes they talk about her, sometimes they fall out, sometimes she gets new friends. But the core of who you are dictates not only how you treat yourself, but how you treat other people. Are you somebody that likes to talk about people behind their back? Are you? I mean, maybe you are. I don't know. I hope not. But if you are talking about somebody behind their back and you journal that morning, I'm a person who loves respect. I like to give respect. I like to be a respectful person. How does talking about somebody behind their back align with who you said you were? And then it becomes an issue of integrity about who you say you are versus what you're doing. But if you don't remind yourself, because the world will offer different opportunities for you to do different things. But if you don't remind yourself, who am I really? And then what actions do I take to really align with who I said I am? I really value and I feel most secure when I'm around people that I can be vulnerable and be myself, and I don't have to pretend, and I don't have to think about them judging me. But are you that person to other people? Are you making the decision to be that person to other people in all situations? So when you journal every morning, I journal every morning because it's a form of self-care for me. And it's how I take care of myself. It's how I remind myself of who I am, because the world will tell you a bunch of things. People will say a lot of different things to you. But it doesn't take long. I don't take like 10, 15, 30 minutes. It could be 2 minutes for me to ask myself, who are you today, Juanita? What are you going to do? All of my actions need to align with what I said. I feel most proud when? I feel most proud when I encourage other people. So I make sure that I don't do things that discourage other people, because I know how that feels. And we have to check ourselves often and check in with ourselves. One, to make sure we know what our identity is, to make sure that we have our self-worth intact. And then we also, self-efficacy. So self-worth and self-efficacy, when they go together, that equals confidence. I'm going to run through this quickly so we have time for questions. Self-efficacy just means I can learn a skill. That's all it means. When you have the confidence in knowing that you can learn something, you can achieve something, it builds your confidence, because you have confidence in your ability to take on a new task. So public speaking is a skill. Studying, that's a skill. Effective communication is a skill, okay? So when you are able to do that, I have a new dog. Out on our show, we saw little clips of our shows on Amazon Prime. This season, we got a new dog. His name is Chicken Nugget. Don't ask. I don't know why we named him Chicken Nugget. He looked a little chicken nugget when we got him. So his nickname is Nugget. I've taught Nugget how to sit. Nugget can roll over. Nugget can give you his right hand and give you a high five. Nugget is a very intelligent dog. But if I can teach Nugget all of those things, you can learn anything that you want to do, because you are smarter than Nugget, the dog, okay? Any skill that you want to learn, anything that you want to do, you can do it. It's just a matter of how much you want to work. I love choir and I love instruments. I grew up in the band. So in high school, I was drum major in high school. I was, yes. And I marched all 4 years in college. I played 5 instruments: piano, piccolo, flute, saxophone, and percussion. My mother was a school teacher. She was a music teacher. I also did choir and choral instruction. I love music because music is a direct reflection of work ethic. You are only as good as you are as much as you practice. You will never learn anything. You will never get any further on your instrument if you don't practice. That is true for everything in life. If I didn't practice my pageant walk, when I get up on stage in 6-inch heels, I would not be able to navigate my pageant walk if I didn't practice. I spent hours practicing walking, something as simple as that. So whatever it is that you put your mind to do, you must commit and make a decision to practice. Practice makes perfect. You have to make a decision if you want to rise above the mediocrity of life, if you want to do something that challenges you, that's different, if you want to do anything. You have to make the decision that you can do it. And you do that each time by building your self-efficacy, your knowledge of yourself, of what you're capable of, the fact that you can learn new things. So self-efficacy and self-worth equals confidence. And then it comes down to choices in life. Now, I had a choice. I could have dropped out of school in college or in law school. I could have given in. I could have not worked to pull my GPA up, because I graduated and I did all of these things and went on to these these different jobs and different opportunities, but it was because I put in the work. I didn't just stand there and say, okay, but I want to become a lawyer, I want to become successful, and not actually do the work. I had to make a decision. Some of my friends would go out and go party. I wanted to party. I was 23 years old. I was grown. I could do whatever I wanted to do. But I made a decision that every night I was in the law school studying, because I knew eventually at 25, I've been a lawyer since I was 25 years old. Nobody plateaus at 25 years old, but I was licensed attorney, making well over 6 figures by the time I was 25. You do that by the decisions that you make now in high school, whether or not you're in the honor society, how hard you study. And it's not about accomplishments, it's about habits. It's about building your self-efficacy and building the habits for you to accomplish whatever it is that you want to do. I don't care if you want to own a floral shop. You need to be able to study the art of plants, to be able to study having a business. Whatever it is that you want to do in life, you're going to have to make the decisions to do something that feeds into your own dream. That's no one's responsibility but your own. Nobody owes you anything in life, but you do owe it to yourself. The only thing that they owe you is respect and to be honorable, and that you are a human being and that you have value. But you have to know that for yourself first. All right, so I want to make sure that I have time to take questions and do some Q&A. But I want you to always remember that the choices that you make right now, it will impact your outcome at 25, 35, 45. All right, thank you. And it could be anything. It could be pageant related, whatever you want to ask.
We have one.
My name is Kaylia. I wanted to know what it was like competing in Miss Universe.
Mrs. Universe competition, it was a lot of fun. It was very challenging. It took place over 5 days, and it was a lot of fun. You know, pageant competition to me is very similar to anything else in life. There are times when you enjoy it. There are times when it's very challenging. And sometimes people can become intimidated because there were over 75 contestants when I competed, women from all over the world. And sometimes it can be intimidating to be around that many accomplished, beautiful women. I don't get intimidated, I get inspired. And so we all have choices to make in life. I chose to be inspired. I don't really get jealous of other women because I recognize on the stage, everybody is a rose. Everybody that comes there is a rose. I was not the only lawyer competing. There were doctors, there were pilots, very accomplished women, and everybody's a rose. I may be a leopard print glitter rose. My first runner-up was Mrs. Canada, and she probably was a pink glitter rose. My second runner-up was Mrs. Sweden, and she was like more of a purple glitter rose. We were all glitter though, we were all sparkly. And so you don't really compete with the woman next to you because Mrs. Sweden was like 6 feet tall, blonde haired, blue eyed. Mrs. Canada was actually Asian Canadian. And so she was of Chinese descent. Beautiful women, but we were all so very different. Your top 3 could not be more different. So how do you compete against women you don't? And that's very true in life. You just compete to be your absolute self. Now I was competing with them, don't get me wrong, it's a competition. But I brought my absolute best self to the stage. And that's really all you need to do in life. It's not about comparing yourself to somebody else. It was exhausting at times, so I'll get back to the practical. it was exhausting because I did probably 5 outfit changes a day, different portions of the competition from evening gown to fashion wear, constantly being photographed. And sometimes it can just be exhausting, but it was well worth it. I met some amazing women, and yeah, it was part of my destiny and journey, but it's something that you have to prepare really hard to accomplish, as with anything in life. And when you go there and you see other people who have also been preparing really hard, it inspires you. It inspired me to be my absolute best. Yes.
I have another question.
Okay, I'm Tati. I have a question. I want to know, what did you do for the talent portion of the pageant?
Well, fortunately, I didn't have to play my flute or the piano. In the Mrs. divisions, you don't have to do talent. And also, Miss America is the only pageant that does talent. So Miss USA, Miss Universe, they don't do talent. Miss World, they don't do talent. America is the only competition that does talent. So fortunately, I didn't have to do that, but if I needed to, I had 5 instruments to choose from, and I could have, but I didn't have to.
Okay, next question.
Hi, my name's Tanea. I just wanted to know, like, what inspired you to start doing pageants?
That is a really good question. Thank you for asking that. I had the opportunity as an attorney to speak to various girls groups similar to this. And one day, I went back to my office. I was already a lawyer. So people are often familiar with like Teen, Miss, MISS, and then there's also Mrs. divisions for every title. So there's a Mrs. America, a Mrs. World, Mrs. USA, Mrs. Universe. There's Mrs. for every division. And I went back to my office that day because I'd spoken to a group of middle school students. I remember what school it was. I was in Indiana at the time, living there. And I said a prayer. And I was like, God, I really would like more opportunities to do this. Use me. And how can I have more opportunities to go speak to young girls? And I heard God whisper pageantry. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I was an adjunct professor at the time at Butler University. I was practicing law full-time at a law firm. And I considered myself to be in higher, academia and intelligentsia. And I was like, I don't need anybody to tell me I'm cute. I already know I'm cute. I don't need anybody to tell me that I'm special. I already know I'm special. I'm not getting up there and letting anybody judge me, But I went to the Bible and I started studying the book of Esther. And Esther is our first historical account of pageantry. So Esther, in the Bible, Esther got up before the king with the other young ladies in the county, and she was judged, and they put a crown on her head. It was the first Miss Persia pageant. But she did it with purpose. And she was called to do it for a greater good. So I said, okay, pageantry with purpose can be pretty powerful. I think pageantry without purpose, though, I think it's pointless. I don't see the point of doing that. You don't need other people to validate you. You don't need other people to tell you that you're pretty or that you're smart. But when you do it with a purpose and you have a bigger meaning to doing it and you use the crown for a greater good, then it can be powerful. So that's why I did it. I entered, my very first pageant was Mrs. Indiana USA. I thought it was going to be an easy year. They told me there were only 6 contestants. So I was like, this is my moment. It must be meant for me. It's only 6. It's my year. And I went and I competed. I walked through the door. It's my first pageant, right? I didn't do pageants as a child or anything. I walked through the door and there was a former Mrs. Indiana Globe, Mrs. Indiana America, Mrs. Indiana Universe. And I was just like, how is it this is the year of like all pageant all-stars or something? Why are they all in this room? Why am I? And I was like, okay, God, you must have wanted me just to enjoy the experience because surely I'm not going to win. That year, though, I won. And I became the first Black woman to ever win Mrs. Indiana USA. And so, doesn't matter who is in the room, doesn't matter anybody else's experience. What's for you is for you. Now, I prepared really hard, but when it's for you, it's for you. So that's why I did it.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Celia Page, and I wanted to know how and why, like, you went from wanting to become a lawyer to being interested into pageants.
Well, I think because what people don't know is that in order to win a pageant, you have to be extremely intelligent. So like right now, taking this Q&A, I don't know if you've ever watched pageants on TV and you know they do the on-stage question, they'll you reach in the bowl, you get a question. It's really hard to answer that question. Y'all have seen some people do it really poorly, and you're like, what on earth is she talking about? And they ask you a simple question and she starts talking in circles and you're like, I don't even understand what she's talking about right now. It actually, under pressure, it takes a certain level of intelligence to be able to do that. Again, for me, I just wanted the opportunity to come like today and to let everybody know, especially young girls of your age demographic, that intelligence is beautiful. The most important thing that you have is here. It's something that no one can take away from you. Knowledge is beautiful. Once you have knowledge and once you have information, no one can take that from you. It will open doors. I would not be Mrs. Universe if I were not an attorney because the interview process is grueling. Our interview process, and for each category, you know, the first pageant, the first time I went, there were 6 judges. This time there were 40 judges for every category. There were a total of 160 judges. In order for you to impress 160 people, you have to be pretty consistent. The questions are grueling. You have to be able to speak publicly. But I personally felt like if I couldn't answer a pageant question, I probably didn't deserve to call myself an attorney. But it actually helped me, and I'm just saying, you know, it's not rocket science for me, but intelligence wins the crown. It takes a very intelligent woman to win that crown because these questions, especially on the Miss level, you have everything from politics to social activism, everything that's going on in the world, and you have to be very quick and you have to answer it in 30 seconds, and there's no there's no let me think about it. You must just respond and react. To me, it was the same as taking the bar exam. I didn't have time to think about what was the answer to the question. I had time to respond. And that takes a certain level of knowledge and a certain level of confidence and capability. It's being a public spokesperson and being able to speak publicly. So to me, it's transferable skills, but knowledge wins the crown. And I think that's a misnomer, is that it's all about being pretty, but your interview counts just as much as your evening gown. So everything's 25, 25, 25. So you can be cute and have a nice evening gown, but if you can't speak and you're not intelligent, you're losing. So that's what it was for me.
Hi, my name is Julie. I wanted to ask how you balance being a lawyer and doing like such outstanding pageants.
I balance, I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't believe in that term either, because balance means that everything is going to be equal, and it's not. So doing this, and you know, Mrs. Universe, and this is great, but it will never be equal to my family. It will never be equal to my children. It will never be equal to my mother. So if my mother was sick, I wouldn't be here with you today. I set priorities. So you have to set priorities about what's important to you. So again, it goes back to identity, asking those questions. What do I value? When do I feel most rewarded? When do I feel most secure? Knowing who you are, set your priorities before the opportunity comes to you. And then you will know what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're not willing to sacrifice. So I set my priorities and I make sure that I don't do this by myself. I have a great support system. Nobody succeeds in a bubble. We all need people to come around us and to support us, and you need to be supportive of other people. So I do it with a great support system and with my priorities in place. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, my name is Valine, and my question to you is like, during the pageant, did anyone have like some secret animosity towards you, and how did you deal with it? Because looking at it through TV, it may not look like the girls are like so rude, but it may be something different in person.
Yes, I mean, you know, we live in a world where you have two choices in life. You can either get inspired or you can get intimidated. choice is yours. When you are surrounded by a group of extremely talented, extremely capable, and every woman on that stage is extremely talented, extremely capable. Were there women, I don't like to lie. I like to be a very transparent person. Yes, there were some women that had animosity. You could feel it from across the room. It was weird. It was strange. I've been in pageants where girls have threatened to cut my gown. And then I had to remind them that I'm an attorney and I press charges. I follow the rule, I do. And, hey, we can go there. But those were people who chose to become intimidated. And I could choose to let that affect me, or I could stay focused on what I'm called to do. Sometimes in life, you will run into negative people. And, it's their own stuff. You could either let that distract you from your goal, or you can stay focused. And that's sometimes the mental game and the headspace. When they talk about in pageants, you have to play a mental game. You have to get in a certain mind space that you are there for a particular reason. Now, if I make friends, great. And I actually have some of the closest friends in my life I've met through pageantry. Even competing alongside them, closest friends in my life. But you have a choice to make. And sometimes people don't always choose to become inspired. Sometimes they become intimidated and then they do weird things and the energy gets weird. Yes, it happens. Did it happen at this pageant? Yeah, it always happens. It happens in life. That's going to happen. How you choose to navigate through that, how you choose to respond is the most important thing. I chose to smile and to continue to speak. And then some people I chose to ignore because I had a job to do, and that was to win. And everybody, you can't always engage them, and it's not your job to change everybody. So those are choices, right?
Two more.
Hi, my name is Carissa, and I was wondering if we could see your pageant walk if you would like to.
I'll only do my pageant walk if somebody will do it with me, and I'll teach you how to do the pageant walk. But we may not have time. We may not have time to do that, so let me do.
Can we do one more question and then go to the walk?
Yes, we'll do one more question.
All right, let me tell you the kind of time we're dealing with. And from the bottom of my heart, you all have been absolutely perfect. I'm so proud of you. So listen, this is the kind of time we're dealing with because we know your dismissal. And I want to leave space for groups of individuals, group shots with Miss Universe. For instance, the cheerleaders will come here. She's not going to budge, but the groups will come here. We'll move these chairs. You'll stand, photo, and out. Then the next group, JROTC, come up here and photo and exit that way. Is that okay? Then we'll have other groups, like all the ninth grade girls. Not all the athletes at one time, but we'll break it up into groups. Is that okay? Okay, so question, and then walk, and then photos, okay?
Hi, I'm Michaela, and I wanted to know, if you're willing to share, some healthy habits, besides journaling, that got you to the point that you're at today.
Yes, I think holistically as a person, you need to, for me it's ministry, you need to minister to every aspect of yourself. And a big portion of that is wellness. I'm not into weight. I don't get on the scale. I'm not into weight loss and all of that. I'm into wellness. And that speaks to the whole person. I walk probably around 5 miles a day. And when I walk those miles, I listen to audiobooks because I don't always have time to read everything because I need to multitask. So I like listening to inspirational books, listening to things that feed my soul, that maybe teach me something new, music that inspires me because I am a musician. So music takes me to a particular place, but I like to walk and get in solitude and get by myself. I pour out into a lot of people all the time, especially because I have children and a husband and, I'm always speaking, I'm always going, but that's my time for me. Sometimes I walk, it'll be 6 o'clock in the morning. Now Singapore is very safe, so I can do that where I'm at. But I always advocate for you to take a moment to yourself. You don't have to journal, you can listen to something. I'm also, I will tell you, I'm vegan. So I don't eat everything. I'm very conscientious of what I put in my body. I think as Black women, we have to really consciously be aware of the fact that we are predisposed for certain things, high blood pressure, diabetes, different things that attack us, Black and brown women. And we have to be aware of that of our bodies and treat it as a temple. So there are certain things, I'm not saying that you shouldn't eat meat. I read a wonderful book called Eat for Your Blood Type. So I know that I'm A positive. A positive people tend to digest food and meat differently. And so optimally, we're supposed to be either vegetarian or vegan. According to that book, my body, I listen to my body and how it feels. But I'm conscientious of what I put in my body. So I don't snack on a lot of I don't do Cheetos, I don't do a whole lot of potato chips, I don't do a whole lot of junk food and I've always been that way. I'm always conscientious of, because you only get one temple. And sometimes if you want to have a clear mind, you have to watch what you put inside of your mind. Speaking of clear minds, you have to watch what you listen to and watch what you watch on television. You'd be surprised how many things feed you subconsciously. And there's nothing wrong. I like all music. I like everything from classical music to, I like country. I like heavy metal. I like everything because I'm a musician. But what you put into your mind, and again, how you start your day. I start my day listening to something that uplifts me, that feeds my spirit. Do I listen to all music? Absolutely. But sometimes subconsciously it can feed negativity into your spirit. So you have to set the tone for your body, for your mind, for the day. So that's a habit that I have. I walk, I listen to certain things. I'm conscious of what I put in my body. Okay.
So Dr. Morgan, there was one unanswered question really quickly. They wanted to know what were the thoughts going through your mind as they led up to the crowning. That was the last question.
That was the last question?
Yes, ma'am.
That
They
was
promised.
yours.
There was one over here, but we'll get it to her later.
I stood on stage, again, I was whole. I was excited, whole meaning I was happy to be there. I think it would be a lie to say I didn't care whether or not they've crowned me, but I knew that I had already won. So whether they crowned me or not, I was healthy. So I'll back up 2 years ago. Everybody know what a mammogram is? Y'all might be too young to know what mammograms are. Yeah. You do? Okay. So I had my first mammogram 2 years ago. Nobody expects to get a call back. I did. I ended up, this is in season 1 of the show, you can watch it. I ended up having to have full surgery, reconstructive surgery, and my mammogram worked. I did not have cancer. They stopped it in time. So I had 6 months before I was gonna have full-blown cancer. They ended up having all this surgery. From that, I had all this medication. I gained a lot of weight. I had all types of steroids, things I had to be on. So my journey to wellness started there. When I stood on that stage, when I say I stood there whole, I was cancer-free. I'd been taken off the watch list. I was healthy. I had gotten into physical therapy. It took me 6 months before I could raise my arm like this again. I was in physical therapy. I was healthy. I was in shape. I was the best that I could possibly be, and I was alive. And I was at my absolute best. So I stood on stage whole, happy, knowing that I'd come out of retirement, blew the dust off my clear shoes, and decided to let this pageant be my motivation to come back to myself. So when I stood on stage, what was going through my mind was, man, this is awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm top 10. That's crazy. Wow, look at this. Oh wow. There's no one left on stage. It's just the top 3. Oh wow, look at this. When you see me being crowned, and it's in episode 13 of the show, my friend pointed out to me that I said, oh my God, it's me. Because at that point, I really didn't care whether or not they crowned me or not. I was just so happy to have been in my absolute best self, that I came out of retirement. And in that moment, this is not arrogance, this is confidence. I was everything. And I knew that I was everything because I was whole. And I was everything in that moment that God called me to be. And I was happy. So what went through my mind when they crowned me was, oh, wow, this is really happening. Oh, wow. And I was really happy, but I was in shock. Again, because no Black woman had ever won. So, thank you.
I have a question. Say, what is it? I'm glad you asked. Why is it that when people receive the announcement and they're calling your name, why do they just hide their face like this?
It is so surreal, and you recognize if you're a healthy person competing, because there are some people that are not mentally healthy to compete. I say that because if you can't lose, you probably shouldn't be there, because only one woman can wear the crown. It is so overwhelming when that moment happens, and you recognize that it is a moment of grace. It is a moment of mercy, because every woman there could be the queen. Every woman there is qualified to wear that crown, or else she wouldn't be there. All of you are qualified to wear the crown. It doesn't take, you are. All of you are leaders, all of you are queens, all of you are special. Every woman on that stage could wear the crown. So when it is your season and your moment, it is overwhelming. It's very humbling. So it's a humble moment of, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is happening for me, because I know that all of these other women are also very qualified to do this role, very qualified to be here. It's a very humbling experience, very surreal to know that this is your moment. And most of the women on that stage have lost several times. Everybody on that stage, nobody's coming through sweeping. Most of them, you win some, you lose some. And so when you get to that place where it's your moment, it is very, very surreal that you work that hard and that it's for you, because it could be for anybody. Everybody in here could be Miss Universe. All of you all could, especially after I show you this pageant walk. But all of you are qualified to do that.
On to the walk.
Some of you might not know this, but Mrs. Universe looked at my phone and she saw that I have 74,000 pictures and 30,000 selfies. So she awarded me the Superintendent Selfie Award, and I have to go to Singapore in order to receive it.
Under chaperone's guidance, yes. So let's do the walk.
Let's do the walk. Queen of the selfies. Come on, baby.
You gonna do the walk?
We're gonna push the table back so you have this runway over here. Is that better? Well, let's just push it back for now, and then we can.
I got it. See, I got it.
Okay. Come on, honey. Oh, okay. Mr. Rain is coming to assist. So she'll do it. Hold the screen where it is. Hold, pause. That's good. Pause it, pause it. Okay. Can we bring the PowerPoint slide back up? Bring the screen back down, please. And put that slide back up. Thank you.
We'll do a quick version of it, okay? So the most important thing, let me see you walk just from here to here, and you're gonna walk here, You're gonna stop, okay? You're gonna take a look out to the audience. You're gonna lead with this right foot. Turn, look back at the judges, turn again, and then you're gonna walk away, okay? All right? You think you can do that? I'll do it with you. Come on, we'll do arm in arm. Here we go, all right? Here we go. You're gonna lead with this right foot, all right? You're gonna look up, okay? Confidence comes from within you. Now look, I'm always the shortest one on stage, but I project the tallest, okay? It's all about confidence, okay? So we're gonna lead. You're gonna lean back with your shoulders back. There you go. Shoulders back, yes. And channel your inner Beyonce, okay? That's what we're doing. We're gonna lead with the right. Here we go. To the music. Let's go. And you're gonna pause right here, pause, and shift your weight. All right, you got this. You got it. And now we're gonna turn to the judges. The judges are here. Tell me your names. Tamia. This is Taria. Tamia. Right? Say it again. Tamia. Okay, this is Miss Tamia, representing Roosevelt High School. We're gonna turn, all right? And now look back. You're gonna win off. Now look at the judges in their eyes. You're gonna win the judges over, okay? We're gonna turn. And look, yes, judges, you're voting for me. Now smile. You're voting for me, judges. I know you are, okay? And then you turn back again, and you turn back around, okay? One last look. You're gonna leave with this foot and walk out that way and walk with confidence, okay? And it's your turn. Let's go. Okay, here we go. Come on, arm in arm. Here we go. Go. Want to demonstrate one more time? Okay, so here we go. Look, you lead with this leg, okay? It's all about the symmetry. You're gonna lean back like this, look, a little bit. And when you walk out, you cross one leg in front of the other, and you stop and walk, okay? I missed it. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see it. Okay, come on. Here we go. And walk. And one in front of the other. You hold your head up high. All right, and then pause. There we go. Now look out to the judges. All right, yeah. Just like that. Tell me your name. Lara. Lara. This is Lara representing Roosevelt High School. Lara's in the junior ROTC. Lara's in the junior ROTC. And we're gonna pause out here. Hips there and back. Go to the other side and go back like this. There you go. Now, walk up. This is Lara. And we walk off. Here we go. And leave this foot and walk. And you walk with confidence. And that's it. All right? Great job. Great job, ladies. There you go. That's right. Look back. That's right. America has a problem.